Trump administration launched an immigration crackdown in the Twin Cities earlier this month. The Homeland Security Department says it is targeting criminals with outstanding deportation orders.
Federal agents just stormed a Los Angeles mansion tied to a Somali-linked trafficking network, and authorities say the money behind it runs into the billions.
We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien.
ICE Operation Metro Surge has arrested more than 400 criminal illegal aliens in just weeks, including gang members, predators, and violent thugs who were walking free thanks to sanctuary politicians. But this operation exposed something even bigger that nobody saw coming, a nearly billion-dollar fraud empire that may have funneled millions to overseas terror networks.
The ICE sweep in the Twin Cities rounds it up what the Trump administration calls the worst of the worst. We went through court records and found 11 filings since the operation.
While Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey were busy protecting illegal aliens from federal law, criminal networks were stealing from American taxpayers on a scale that investigators are calling breathtaking.
It's a game of whack-a-mole, but you don't have a hammer, you've got a toothpick. You have very little chance of catching up. You may hit something once, but you miss 100 others.
Now, ICE agents are facing riots in the streets as they hunt down the worst criminals Minnesota politicians refuse to deport.
First, we don't know how much it is. There's a lot of speculation, and that's part of the problem at this point. Neither the Walz administration nor anybody else really knows the scope of it.
On December 1st, 2025, ICE launched Operation Metro Surge in the Twin Cities with one clear mission: remove the most dangerous criminal illegal aliens from American streets.
ICE tells us one of the men was wanted for being here illegally. They also claim he had prior arrests for domestic violence and disorderly conduct. That man was able to evade arrest.
Because if these politicians would actually do their job and protect the public and not have a revolving door of justice, the federal government wouldn't have to step in and remove these violent criminals.
Within the first 2 weeks alone, federal agents arrested more than 400 individuals with serious criminal records. These were convicted gang members, predators, and violent criminals who had been roaming Minneapolis neighborhoods for years while politicians looked the other way. The Department of Homeland Security didn't hold back when describing what they found. Criminal aliens with deportation orders, some of them violent predators, were being shielded by local politicians who decided protecting illegal aliens was more important than protecting Americans. The operation deployed over 100 specialized ICE officers from across the country, specifically targeting roughly 500 individuals with outstanding deportation orders. But what made this operation different was the types of criminals they were arresting. Federal agents were hunting down the worst offenders that sanctuary policies had been protecting for years, sometimes for over a decade. Take Abdul Qadir Sharif Abdi, a criminal illegal alien from Somalia. This man was a former member of the Gangster Disciples.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
And current member of the Vice Lord Nation gang. His rap sheet included convictions for fraud, receiving stolen property, possession of stolen vehicles, vehicle theft. Despite all of this, he was still walking the streets of Minneapolis because politicians refused to cooperate with ICE. Then there's Sahal Osman Shadain, another Somali national convicted of criminal sexual conduct with a minor between the ages of 13 and 15. He served his time, got released, and instead of being deported like any sane system would demand, he was allowed to stay in Minnesota where he could potentially create more victims. Mukhtar Muhammad Ali had convictions for assault, fraud, robbery, and larceny. Ahmed Mohammed Saeed was convicted of multiple crimes, including 2 counts of domestic violence, 3 DUI convictions, assault, property damage, and probation violations. But here's the one that really shows you how broken the system was. Vanilaut Kiomani had been living in Minneapolis since 2009 with a final deportation order hanging over his head. He was convicted of 2 counts of assaults in Columbus, Ohio, and sentenced to 7 years in prison. After serving his time, he wasn't put on a plane back to his home country. He was released back into American communities where he lived for 16 years with that deportation order sitting there, ignored, while politicians played games with public safety.
She not only obtained fraudulent loans for herself to the tune of about $800,000, but she also received kickbacks from her other 9 co-conspirators.
But Operation Metro Surge uncovered something that goes far beyond individual criminals.
I would tell you, if I were a betting person, they will do it over these holiday seasons because it makes it especially cruel.
Reading speeches, never have, but my chief of staff did put some stuff down here in writing just to make sure I don't miss anything. So I'm going to be reading a little bit, then we're going to open up for questions. I've been on the ground less than 3 full days. I got in here Monday. President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress in the last 3 days.
Federal investigators discovered that Minnesota had become the epicenter of the largest welfare fraud schemes in American history, with estimates approaching $1 billion in stolen taxpayer money. And now federal sources confirm that millions of those stolen dollars may have ended up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group operating in Somalia. While Tim Walz was busy giving illegal aliens free health care, driver's licenses, and college tuition, criminal networks were running the biggest fraud operation in pandemic history, and some of that money may have been sent straight to terrorists.
Now, a grand jury indictment charges him with stealing about $1 million meant to feed hungry children.
The numbers are absolutely staggering. The Feeding Our Future Child nutrition fraud scheme alone stole over $300 million that was supposed to feed hungry American children. Think about that. Money meant for kids went into the pockets of criminals. As of late 2025, 78 people have been charged in this scheme, with 57 already convicted. One defendant, Abdimajid Mohammed Noor, was just sentenced to 10 years in prison.
He submitted more than $1.4 million in fraudulent Medicaid claims, which he used to purchase more than $150,000 in cryptocurrency.
Marcos Charles, he's running ICE operations here. There you go. Rodney Scott, Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, standing here beside me. Good morning, I'm Tom Homan, I'm the Border Czar for President Trump. I'm here on behalf of the President, along with U.S. Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Rodney Scott, and Marcos Charles, who's leading the enforcement effort here right now. I've been on the ground since Monday.
We are on the front lines of a very important battle, and it's important that we aren't silenced, that we aren't put down. This is not a time to bend our heads in despair or out of fear that we may be next, because if we do not speak up, if we do not step out, it will be your city that is next.
In order to pay back nearly $48 million in restitution. But it gets worse. Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services program, which was supposed to help vulnerable people find housing, paid out $302 million over just 4.5 years when it was originally budgeted for only $12 million. Federal authorities terminated payments to 77 housing stabilization providers over what they called credible allegations of fraud. The state finally shut down the program in August 2025 after the damage was already done. In December 2025, federal agents raided Ultimate Home Health Services in Bloomington after discovering the company billed $1.1 million for autism services while doing almost nothing for the children enrolled. This is criminal fraud on a scale that's hard to comprehend.
He can't talk without fraud coming up as an issue. So he's associated with fraud at this point. I don't think he can shake that issue. That's with him.
So how did Minnesota become ground zero for both massive welfare fraud and a sanctuary city crisis that protected violent criminals? The answer is simple. Tim Walz and Minneapolis politicians like Mayor Jacob Frey and Attorney General Keith Ellison built a system that valued protecting illegal aliens over protecting Americans. Tim Walz's record on immigration is absolutely disastrous. As governor, he signed legislation in 2023 that made illegal aliens eligible for state-sponsored health care, gave them Minnesota driver's licenses, and provided them with free college tuition. He created an Office of New Americans specifically to help illegal immigrants and refugees integrate into the United States. He expanded Minnesota's Minnesota Care program to include people in the country illegally, but it gets even worse. In February 2025, Attorney General Keith Ellison issued a formal legal opinion stating that holding an illegal alien.
We do not need them pulled into circumstances that they themselves do not control, where chaos reigns supreme and where chaos is being
pursuant to an ICE detainer request would constitute an unreasonable seizure under both the Fourth Amendment and the Minnesota Constitution. Essentially, Ellison told every law enforcement agency in Minnesota that if they cooperated with ICE and held criminal illegal aliens for federal pickup, they could get sued. Minneapolis also has a separation ordinance that was published in June 2025, which explicitly prohibits Minneapolis Police Department officers from initiating stops, detentions, or arrests solely based on administrative ICE warrants warrants. The city literally banned its own police from helping federal agents arrest criminals with deportation orders. This is why the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit in September 2025 against the state of Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, the city of St. Paul, Hennepin County, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana S. Witt. The lawsuit accused them of maintaining sanctuary policies that interfere with federal immigration enforcement and put dangerous criminals back on American streets.
We elected these people to keep us safe. Instead, they protected criminals and called us racist when we complained. That's not leadership, that's betrayal.
To regain law and order in the city beloved by many, and work together to remove threats from the community. During the past administration, we all remember, more than 10 million illegal aliens entered this nation. Many were national security threats, public safety threats. We can't remember over 2 million known gotaways. 2 million people who paid more to get away. Why? That should scare the hell out of everybody.
Pushed on our cities.
When Republicans in Congress called Walz to testify about Minnesota's sanctuary policies in June 2025, he had the audacity to claim that Minnesota is not a sanctuary state.
Minnesota is not even a sanctuary state. Minnesota legislature has passed no such bill making Minnesota a sanctuary state, and I have signed no such law.
But that's a lie of omission. Just because Walz didn't sign a bill with sanctuary state in the title doesn't mean he didn't create sanctuary conditions. His policies, his attorney general's directives, and Minneapolis's ordinances created a de facto sanctuary state that protected criminal illegal aliens from federal law enforcement.
Trying to arrest criminals with deportation orders, and we're being attacked by mobs. Where's the outrage when these criminals hurt Americans? Where's the media then?
As Operation Metro Surge continued through December 2025, something unprecedented started happening. ICE agents faced increasingly violent resistance from protesters and activists who tried to physically prevent them from arresting criminal aliens. Audio released by the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office captured an ICE supervisor calling for help.
How many is it, like, okay. We only have a few officers, but we have, what did they say, 60 to 70 agitators that are fighting them.
Deputies from the Sheriff's Office and Minneapolis police responded to the scene, but, according to reports, did not witness any attacks and mainly helped ICE agents leave because the crowd was blocking them. One activist coordinator openly admitted her group was training people to interfere with federal law enforcement. After Trump's comments about Somalis, over 500 people signed up for this training, up from 115.
They're everyday people. They're restaurant owners, they're business owners, they're neighbors, they're teachers, they're nurses, healthcare workers, like everyone under the sun.
Think about that. Teachers and nurses were being trained to obstruct federal agents, trying to arrest convicted gang members and predators. That's where we are in America today. Meanwhile, ICE reported that assaults against their agents have increased by approximately 1,153%. Agents are facing 11 times more assaults during operations than before. ICE specifically called on sanctuary politicians, agitators, and the media to turn the temperature down and stop calling for violence and resistance. Operation Metro Surge proves what conservatives have been saying for years. Sanctuary policies make the communities more dangerous. When you refuse to enforce immigration law, you get criminals who know they can operate with impunity. The Trump administration is finally putting Americans first, and Minnesota's criminal aliens are learning that the free ride is over. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more in-depth coverage of stories the mainstream media won't tell you.
President Trump promised American people, including the residents of Minnesota, that he would work to ensure our communities are safe. And with that, this administration is absolutely focused on identifying removal aliens that pose a public safety threat and national security threats. And the numbers prove it. The data proves it. In the past few days, I've met with Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, Mayor Frey, numerous police chiefs and sheriffs, and I have more to meet. I'll also be continuing the dialogue with business and religious leaders in partnership in Minnesota, your communities. I'll be meeting with them too because I want to hear what they have to say.